Welcome back to the news today. This is One on One. BBC television director Danny Cohen holds one of the most powerful media position in the United Kingdom, becoming the controller of BBC One by 37 and the BBC director by 39. He explains how important it is to adjust the medium to the changing trends and answers accusations that the BBC being biased against Israel. i24 news correspondent Shachar Peled, who's sitting right here with me, interviewed him upon his visit to the Comedy for a Change conference in Jerusalem. Let's see.
Mr. Cohen, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us. So you've been heading the BBC television for the past 19 months, starting at a relatively young age. How do you feel traditional broadcast can appeal these days to the younger audiences and survive in the digital era?
Well, I think what we've got to do is make sure we're offering our programmes in lots of different ways. There's not going to be one right way to make sure people see your TV shows. You're going to deliver them through TV channels. You're a TV channel. I hope you're imagining young people are watching as well as older people, so people will still watch TV channels, young and old. We also need to make sure we deliver content on demand as well, so that people can see things when they want them, whatever time of day. And I think for the next few years, we're going to have that mixture. It's going to be a hybrid between people watching channels and watching on demand online programming, and people will choose a bit of this and a bit of that.
What happened to the BBC Digital Media Initiative, eventually?
Well, that was a very specific technical thing around how we make and deliver programmes for broadcast, and that didn't go very well. Okay. But that's one particular IT project that didn't go very well overall. But that's quite a specific thing. The key thing for us really is about how we make sure that we put our content on the platforms where people can get them. And that may mean linear TV channels, that may mean the iPlayer that we have, which means people can choose a programme whenever they want it.
So you're adjusting to younger audiences as we speak and in the future?
I think unless you continue to adapt as a broadcaster, you're in trouble. You can look at some great companies from the past that had great strength. You know, Kodak was a company. We all had Kodak cameras, Kodak films. Right. They're not the company of strength they are now. Nokia, even more recently, we all had Nokia phones. Suddenly, you can lose your competitive advantage, and that means you've got to keep making sure that you're understanding the change that's going on, understanding audience behaviour and adapting faster than the competition.
Right. Back in February 2008, the Times newspaper described you as the boy wonder of British television. Do you feel you've lived up to this title? I'll
let other people decide that. You can tell me afterwards.
Well, how do you feel in the past 6 years as back in the day of BBC One and in the previous
I think you have a mixture. You have a mixture of successes, and you have some shows that go brilliantly and some shows with the best will in the world and people trying very hard to make a great programme. It doesn't end up as a great programme. You've got to try and make sure a high enough percentage of your programmes are hits, and that's gone okay for me. I think in the end, what you've got to do is work with brilliant people. If you work with really smart, creative people, you can have enough hits.
Right. What can you answer to those who claim BBC coverage is biased towards Israel, especially following the summer hostilities?
Well, I think what we find at the BBC is we get complaints from both sides of the political divide in the Middle East and actually all around the world. I don't run BBC News, but I do see the complaints logs we get overall for the BBC. And what you find is that when you do a story on the Middle East, you get the pro-Israel side complaining vociferously about the content, and you get the pro-Arab side complaining about the content. And that often makes us feel we're getting it right somewhere in the middle, because both sides are complaining. And actually we get that on most of the main topics. You get people on one side of a political debate complaining one way, same broadcast, the other side feel it's been biased against them. So is the BBC perfect? Does any broadcasting organisation in the world get everything right? Of course not. But we do seem to get a lot of complaints from both sides.
Which you find is good?
Well, I think it shows that we are trying very, very hard to get our coverage right. Yes, I think it does. If both sides are finding fault with you. Again, we produce hundreds, if not thousands of hours of content a week. Is the BBC perfect? Does it get everything right? No. Will you, when you look back at the end of the year on your channel, think you got every single report absolutely right in a fast-moving situation? I don't know. But we are certainly trying our best.
Yeah, so nobody's perfect, is what you're saying.
Nobody's perfect.
So, well, you know, in Israel, the public channel is going through a great reform, changing management, anchors, cancelling the licence fee. And last year in Britain, there was a survey saying 70% of the participants were in favour of cancelling or reducing the licence fee. Do you think that's a right step?
Well, I think I'd challenge that survey to start with. I'm not sure who who did it. I wonder whether the question they asked was
I think it was the Telegraph.
It was the Telegraph. I'm not sure whether the question was perhaps fairly put. I'll give you a statistic to throw back at you on that. 97% of the UK population use the BBC every month. 97%. I don't think there's a broadcaster in the world that would have numbers like that. That says to you that people right across the UK, young and old, from a wide range of backgrounds, are getting a huge amount of value from the BBC, and that's what we intend to keep delivering them.
OK, well, it seems you're robustly defending BBC against criticism, going as far as calling lazy and poor journalism in some of your tweets to those who criticise the upcoming Christmas rundown. Why is that? Does it upset you? Does it hit a nerve?
No, it doesn't upset me. I think what we've decided at the BBC is if people write things about us that are inaccurate, we should respond and correct them. I think that's what most people would do. If someone wrote something about you personally or about the organisation you work for that you didn't feel was accurate, I think you'd respond and tell them so. And we've decided at the BBC we should be a bit better at that.
OK, well, you wrote in your latest post that be a little less of the critical friend. What did you mean by that?
Well, the BBC gets attacked by people in the UK every day. Sometimes the criticism is fair. You know, the BBC doesn't get everything right and we should be held to account. We spend public money. Sometimes that criticism doesn't feel like it's legitimate or has been evenly delivered. And I think what we've been saying to people is if you value the BBC, if you get a great deal of personal use out of it, if you think the BBC is important in the UK, really important part of the creative industries in the UK, stop criticising us so much and be a bit of a friend. Because sometimes you say, look, I'm having a go at you, I'm a critical friend. Sometimes we could do with a bit more of the friend and a bit less of the critical. OK,
and finally, earlier this month, in your post, you wrote the BBC is at a crossroads and your job might change. What is expected?
Well, the BBC is at a crossroads because we're about to enter licence fee negotiations with the government in the next year. And the nature of those negotiations, the level of the licence fee when we come through that settlement in 2015-16 will determine what kind of BBC the British public have for the future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good for you. That was
you.
Danny Cohen. Good for you that he was running all over. Good for you. You know, we cannot ignore that the BBC got a lot of criticism just a few weeks ago.
A few months ago and throughout the year. Now, first of all, Cohen participated in the Comedy for a Change conference here in Jerusalem, addressing the ability of comedy to drive change. But he was very serious on a personal note. He is a Jewish man in the UK with a very prominent, a very powerful media position. And he admitted, and I quote, saying, "I've never felt so uncomfortable as a Jew in the UK as I've felt in the last 12 months.
Wow.
So he definitely mentioned that the levels of hatred and anti-Semitism in the UK and across Europe are on a rise, but he made no reference of his job as to how this can relate to it.
Isn't it being some kind of the devil advocate? Because from one place you are one of the biggest directors on BBC, but on the other hand you are a Jew and you see what the BBC is broadcasting.
So he did refer to this in some way. The BBC, as we know, has been a target of criticism and even angry public protests throughout this year, especially following the Hamas and Israel hostilities throughout the summer. It remains to be seen whether Cohen specifically will be able to contribute towards changing this perspective. And he says that he recently announced the BBC's ambitious plans to mark the 70th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz, January 27th. There will be, in this Holocaust Memorial Day, a screening of the 10-hour documentary series of Shoah and the Eichmann show, in which they cover the trial of Adolf Eichmann through the TV producer eyes who covered it. So this is definitely a way of them trying to respond to the allegations and to the growing anti-Semitism that he feels on a personal level, but I'm sure that on a professional one as well, and his way of trying to address this.
Maybe to address this in one way or another, or to feel better with himself?
I think he's in a very tricky position. The fact that he's of a Jewish background, but still he told us this is not the fact that he's Jewish is anything to do with the British public, and this is a public channel. This is something that he must address in his own way, and as the head of BBC Television, this is his way to do it.
He is still being... I'm not envying him at all.
No, it's a very tough job, absolutely.
At all, especially
no doubt.
nowadays in the UK. Shachar Peled, thank you very much for
you.
this interview, and thank you our viewers for being with us tonight. We wish you from all the family of i24 News Merry Christmas, and just hope that you're having a great time among your families. Have a great night. Have peace from the Jeff Report Israel.